By late 1780, the war in the southern colonies looked very grim for the Patriots. The British, under Lord Cornwallis, had captured Charleston, crushed American forces at Camden, and seemed unstoppable. Cornwallis sent his aggressive cavalry commander, Lieutenant Colonel Tarleton, Bloody Ban, to his enemies, as he was infamous for no-quarter tactics, to hunt down the elusive Brigadier General Daniel Morgan and his mixed army of Continentals and militia. Now, Morgan, who was a tough frontiersman and had fought previously in the Revolutionary War, knew his militia would break under a straight British charge because they already had at Camden. So he devised this brilliant yet unconventional plan that he was going to use his militia as bait. So Morgan positioned his 1,000 or so troops on the open meadow near Cowpens, South Carolina. And it was flat, so there was no escape for any cowards. And he placed his least reliable militia in the front line and told them to fire 2 volleys and then retreat in good order. Don't panic. Behind them, a second line of better trained militia to catch the fleeing men and keep them fighting was placed. And hidden in the rear were his reliable Continental regulars under Colonel Howard, plus cavalry led by Lieutenant Colonel William Washington. Tarleton, who was overconfident and eager for glory, drove his 1,100 elite British and Loyalist troops, dragoons, and infantry through the night in a forced march to catch Morgan. He arrived at dawn, saw what looked like a weak, disorganized rabble, and attacked immediately. No scouting and no rest for the men. The battle unfolded like clockwork. The frontline militia fired off their volleys as they were ordered to do, and they dropped British officers, and then they fled in orderly fashion, which drew Tarleton's men into a disordered pursuit. The second line joined the fight, pouring fire into the exhausted British. And when Tarleton's troops finally reached the Continental line, the Americans held firm and unleashed a devastating counterattack. Howard's men wheeled like professionals. William Washington's cavalry smashed into the British flanks from behind. And in under an hour, Tarleton's force collapsed. British troops threw down arms in surrender. Tarleton barely escaped with a handful of men. American losses were about 12 killed and 60 wounded. British were 110 killed and 200 wounded, and nearly 600 were captured, including elite units. This double envelope, often called a tactical masterpiece, destroyed Tarleton's legion, forced Cornwallis into a reckless pursuit that wore down the army and set the stage for the American victory at Guilford Courthouse and the siege at Yorktown after that year. Cowpens showed how raw militia could be brilliant if they were led by smart commanders. And it boosted Southern Patriot morale, and it weakened British control, and it helped tip the scales towards independence. Daniel Morgan's militia-based plan, it remains studied at military academies as one of the cleanest victories won by outnumbered and out-equipped forces to date.